Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Saturday morning webinar. And my name is Judy Feldhausen, and I am joined today by my co-host, the amazing, phenomenal mentor, Bob Wischmeier. And yes, and today we're actually going to talk about one of the laws of Les Brown's book, The 12 Laws That Turn Dreams into Reality. And today's law is law number 7, which is follow the success trails that have been paved before you. And this is an amazing law that we all need to adhere to, because to really make a difference in not only in our business but in our personal lives as well. Wouldn't you agree, Bob?
I think so, Judy. You know, we, being independent synergy distributors, we all have created a home-based business. There's a beauty in having a home-based business. It allows us some freedoms and opportunities that we wouldn't have in a brick-and-mortar business. But in order to be successful in a home-based business, we have to look for people who have gone before us. We have to learn what they've learned. It's really it's all about self-improvement. And how do we find that? How do we get that? How do we learn? And one of the best ways for us to learn is to find and to follow really the success trails paved before us, the individuals who have gone before us. And it's important for us as well to understand the value of a team. We're all on this webinar together this morning for the express purpose of learning. You know, leadership development is all about self-improvement. And so where do we find that? And we find that by following people who've gone before us and have been successful, Judy.
That's absolutely right. And what we're going to be talking about today is actually the whole idea of mentorship and finding a mentor. And you know, all a mentor is a trusted counselor or guide. And we can find one, but we're going to talk about how to find a good mentor, how to be a good student, and basically how to pass that on. And you know, mentors really share their knowledge and their passion with their mentees, with the entire world. And having a mentor will certainly make a difference in your life. When I was a young child, I was taught how to be independent, autonomous, and not to rely on anyone. And so in my younger years, I was advised not to have a mentor. I didn't know that at the time, but I was the daughter of a single mom, and she was extremely independent. And that's what she taught me, was independence. And it certainly made me strong. But I feel that if I had those mentors in my very young years, that I would be even stronger today because of it.
Yeah, you know, that's a perfect segue into what we're going to talk about today. It's the leadership development webinars that Judy and I have been doing for the last few years have been very personal. And today is going to be no different. It has to be. We're not talking about how we're building our business or products or anything like that. We're talking about very personal things. And all of us on this call, every one of us, we've all had a different kind of a life. I grew up in rural America. You know, my family were farmers and ranchers. That's not the same with everybody on this call. And so our backgrounds are different. I think it's extremely important that we recognize, no matter how old we are, no matter where we are in our business world or in our lives, that we need to be wise enough and humble enough, really, to reach out and try to find individuals who can mentor us in our businesses and in our personal lives. I think for me anyway, I came from a dysfunctional family. I'm not going to lie. You know, my dad was an alcoholic. He died an alcoholic. It was a tough deal. Killed in a car wreck. It was tough. And growing up, my folks divorced when I was just a little kid. My mom remarried, and my mom was an artist. Okay, she was a singer. That's how she met my stepdad. She sang at the Garden Lounge bar. Really, frankly, she had a beautiful voice, but she was fragile. And I ended up having a stepfather who didn't want anything to do with me. So growing up as a little boy, I missed a lot of things. Frankly, you know, I just did not have a strong man in my life. So growing up, as I kind of came out of my wild and crazy years as a young man and grew up and married, I started looking for mentorships for men and women in my life who could help me, because there were things I needed to learn, and I recognized that very early on, very early on. Judy, I think it's been the same for a lot of us.
It has been the same for a lot of us. It sounds like it, and I didn't know that we kind of had that in common, Bob. That you know, having a childhood where there were not mentors, and it's so funny because moving forward now, as a mentor, I am a family mentor, and I take that responsibility very, very serious to pass on my knowledge. But there are certain specific traits that we want to talk about on when we're looking for a mentor, because we want to actively find people that can help us along the way, that have paved the road for us, so that we don't have to figure out where to put it and how to lay it. It's the way is paved, and so it makes it so much easier. And so there are certain traits, and Bob, I know that you have had a lot of mentors in your life that have had plenty of successful experience.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And you know, you have to ask yourself, I guess, what mentor traits do I need in my own life? You know, what am I looking for? Does it have to do with my business? Does it have to do with my family, friendship, whatever it happens to be? Those are the things we're looking for. How have these individuals been successful? Where are they in their personal lives? What do I see in other people that I want to see in my own life? And I think, again, this gets a little bit personal here, but, you know, growing up, you know, in the circumstances that I grew up in, but I wanted to have a family. I mean, you know, we grew up in a farming community. We were ranching and farming and those kinds of things, and yet I ended up living all over the place, going all over the place with a stepfather in the military, but my roots were always in rural America. And the kind of men and women that I've been drawn to during the course of my life have been individuals, especially you know, for trying to become a better father, figure out how to be a better father than what I'd experienced as a kid. I had 4 sons. I have 4 boys and a beautiful, strong daughter. I wanted to be a dad, but I honestly didn't know how. But anyway, there's a whole group of individuals who really reached out to me for whatever reason. I don't know exactly why, but what I looked for as a young man were men who were strong, capable. You know, this has been a really personal thing. I broke this down and I wrote down about a half a dozen different individuals who really taught me a great deal: strength, resolve, leadership, business, manliness, you know, athletic individuals. My father-in-law, for example, was physically the strongest man I'd ever met. Bonnie's dad was just incredible, athletic and strong. Whenever Bonnie's dad walked into a room, you just knew everything was going to be all right because Jim was there, you know, that kind of thing. And in my own life, I wanted to be that guy. wanted to be that man who, wherever I went, that my presence could be felt in a good way. I wanted kindness. I wanted to be kind and guileless and loving, but strong. I looked for that in men. And the individuals that I was drawn to as a young man were these great ranchers and business people. Their influence in my life is profound. You know, to this day, some of these individuals that I've been, well, several of them that really had a profound mentoring influence in my life are no longer here. They've passed away. But what they taught me, I've maintained: strength, wisdom, kindness, resolve, being capable. Those are things that were just extremely important to me. So they were successful in the things that I was looking for. Let me just put it that way. And I'm not being very eloquent in my conversation here, but I think you get the drift. They were successful in the things that I needed as a young man. And that influence, and thankfully, I was paid enough attention that going forward as a father, as a businessman, as a leader in my community, their teachings, their mentoring worked. It was successful. Judy?
And you make a good point, Bob, that it's not that we need to have a mentor. We have many mentors in our lives. And, you know, each person that teaches us for a different reason, for a different purpose. And we can have several mentors at the same time because we are growing in so many different directions at once that it's really advantageous to look at several people and to really choose those strengths that they have and to absorb and learn from all of them.
Yeah, exactly right. We're not looking to become someone else. We see something in an individual that has value to us as an individual, and we want to learn about that, how to become like that. And so it's not like we want to be Joe Blow. We want to be who we are. But the mentors that we turn to and look to learn from, it's not everything in their life that we want to learn from. It's just certain things that we want to learn from. And of course, we have to keep those things separated out, right?
Absolutely. And one of those things is to make sure that they are loving what they are doing. And I remember back, probably 15 years ago in my network marketing career, I chose a mentor who was an upline of mine. That was, it was a new company, and he had been very successful in his previous organization, or so he told me. And so I decided, I want to become like him. I want to be successful like he is. And what I learned from him is that he did not have those personal qualities of integrity and responsibility and the desire to do good. He was doing it not for the love of what he was doing, but for the love of money. And that makes such a difference because I started to look at those qualities for myself. And early on, I said, this is not what I want. This is not who I want to be. And I started refusing his weekly coaching calls because I just did not want to have those qualities. And it was such a great lesson for me because he was good at what he was doing, but he was not loving what he was doing. And that whole thing became toxic for me. I would not even want to talk to him because of the person I was becoming.
Yeah, we're totally in harmony. I think it's amazing. When I joined Synergy Worldwide some 10 years ago, my sponsor was like that. At first, I thought he was just phenomenal. He was phenomenal in a lot of things, but I realized after a while that he was in it totally for the money. I was not. And there came a point in time where I had to literally separate myself from him. I did. It changed. You know, we were successful. I mean, I made team leader in you know, in a short period of time within that first, I don't know, year that I was involved with Synergy. I just couldn't be there. He wasn't loving Synergy worldwide. He wasn't devoted to the company. He was loving that income. He was phenomenal at what he did, but I just couldn't stay there. I couldn't be there any longer. I had to separate myself from him, and of course that had a detrimental effect on my downline eventually. But it's all right. It was okay. I had to move forward and find some other individuals within the company who I could follow, who I could you know, look to for mentors in the business, and for me to use the things that my sponsor taught me to help others along the way, sans the bad stuff, right?
Right, right. And when we do find those people that really love what they are doing, that look at the bigger purpose of why they are doing it, it makes such a difference in who they are and how they can help.
Working together in leadership positions, you know, the questions that I would have and the willingness of these good men to put an arm around me, they somehow there was a recognition in this whole group of strong men to help me, to lead me, to teach me. I had one of my friends, Bud Recht, who's a former attorney. Bud was he was a distance runner. He's a pilot. He's a master diver. He's a ski instructor, an attorney. He had a degree in engineering as well as being an attorney. Just a tremendous friend. And he and I went to Alaska fishing together. We're close friends. Bud taught me things that no one else had ever taught me before. He taught me leadership ideas and thoughts that literally changed my world. How I dress for a more powerful and more impactful situation. How to use my office desk when I'm doing interviews, where I need to sit, how to hold myself, what to do with my hands when I'm in an interview with someone, when it's a challenging interview, how to be more powerful or how to be softer in an interview. Those kinds of leadership things have meant the world to me. Never forgotten any of it. Even colors and color schemes in my dress, that sort of thing. Those are the kinds of men and women who come into our lives who mentor us in the things that we need to know, we want to know, and they're willing to help us to do that. And the way we show our gratitude to those who mentor us is by doing the things they've taught us, doing the successful things they've taught us, Judy.
That is so true. I know one of my mentors is actually the mother of one of my best friends, who my best friend has passed on. And this woman is become like a substitute mother to me. I've known her now for, gosh, almost 40 years. And she is such a strong individual. She was a single mom. She raised 6 kids on her own. And her desire is to make the world a better place and to start with her family. She's the only person I know, her grandchildren and her great-grandchildren, long letters. She thinks of my children as her grandchildren, and she sends them letters and makes up puzzles and does creative things with them. It is just such an amazing blessing. She has taught me so much about life and being there and being present for your family and for your community, that it's such just a blessing to have known this woman who is not in business. She is not a college graduate, but she is a lover of life and a lover of God, and it just is passed on by her just naturally, and with that willingness to help all the time.
That's awesome. So really what it boils down to is that you have to define what success means. because it means something different to all of us. It just does. And anyway, so
Absolutely.
where do we find where do we go? Where do we find mentors, Judy?
And I've got some suggestions here, and I believe that you can find a business mentor in your family and a family member in business. I don't think that there is a fine line of finding a specific business mentor. When as a coach, I coach people on business. I'm a business coach, but it's very interesting because I've helped women find husbands, and I have helped mothers be better mothers. Even though we're talking about business, I really believe that that is a blend, which is what our life is. Uh, I When I worked in business, I felt that when I got halfway home, I almost like changed personas. I went from a corporate leader to a mom, and I got halfway thinking about my job, and then all of a sudden a switch would flip, and then I became a mom on the second half of my journey. And that's one of the reasons that I stopped corporate business, because I felt that I was a person divided in two. And when I started my business from home, I could just be me all the time. But we want to look for a mentor, and sometimes we have to physically look for a mentor because they always don't appear in our lives automatically. And so if you are looking for a mentor and you are in business, one of the good places to do is just to go out into the community networking, whether it is a business network where it's a community, something for the community, but go out and talk to people, shake hands with people, find out who they are, what their passion is, and really what their skills are. But sometimes I think mentors are silent mentors. I know I've learned a lot from Les Brown, and I've talked to him once in my life. He probably, he doesn't know who I am, but his books have taught me so much, and so many other books that I've read. They're such great teaching vehicles, and I believe that silent mentors in books, in podcasts, in webinars can also be so advantageous.
No, you're totally right. We're mentoring right now. I mean, just by going to these different webinars, we're being mentored every Saturday by Dan Hammer, teaching us all kinds of things about our business and the products that we market. He's mentoring all of us when he does that, and that's what this is all about. Again, we come back to that whole idea of improving our lives, of self-improvement. Oftentimes, it's the books that we read. I think about Og Mandino, Judy. We've talked about Og Mandino many times. Og Mandino's Greatest Salesman in the World book had a more profound effect on my personal life than my business life. Had more to do with me as an individual than it did me as a businessman. But some of the books that we read really have a profound effect. Les Brown, John Maxwell, Malcolm Gladwell. I don't know how familiar you all are with Malcolm Gladwell. I love his writing. I've watched his YouTube videos, etc. And so depending on what it is that we need, what we're looking for, oftentimes we find that information, those mentors, in places other than nose to nose with an individual. Sometimes we're blessed enough that the mentor is a personal friend, but often it's not. Often it comes through some other media, some other way. And certainly that's been a profound part of my life. I read a great deal. And through reading, I found some great mentors, Judy.
Yes. And I also have coaches on here, and maybe where Les Brown and I have a difference of opinion. He believes that coaches may not make the best mentors because there's money involved. But as a coach, I know that I have a lot to share, and it's not about the money. It's about the experience and about the passion for helping other people. So I added coaches just because of my personal experience. I know the coaches that I have paid for have made an influence on my life, that even things from several years ago that were discussed pop up all the time. And I remember those lessons.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right, Judy. So what do we do here? How do we be good? You know, a good mentee, a good student. I had a friend once who used to say that as he grew older, this was clear back in, I think, 1971, my friend Gerard Conley, who was very successful, told me one time that he hoped that as he grew older, he would become both a master teacher and a master student. And I thought about that through the years, what it means to be, if you will, a master student. And of course, it means that we look for that, building that win-win relationship. As we learn, as we grow, we show our appreciation to our mentors by following their counsel. You know, being actively engaged in the things that we've learned. We thank them by following their lead, being respectful of their shared experiences, and then acting accordingly. We have to take advice, but we have to take action, right?
That is so true. And you know, it's interesting when we talk about win-win relationships. Jean Lavalle and I have said that it's a win-win-win relationship, because when you are a mentee and you're getting all this knowledge, it's interesting that even as a mentee, you are teaching your mentor. And I believe that when you have a great relationship like that, you both of you um, are winning. You're learning things from one another, and you know, it's a win-win-win.
It absolutely. I wanted to read a little section from Les Brown's book. Just a quick quote, but I wanted to read this to everyone. He said, "Some people are great listeners. They'll take notes, they'll nod earnestly, and they'll say all the right things. But when it's time to pull the trigger, they sit around doing nothing. They stare at the target, expecting it to hit itself. This is so frustrating to mentors. Mentors know that you have all of the needed knowledge, but for some reason, you're just sitting on that information. They're providing you with what could be thousands of dollars worth of advice, and you're choosing to do nothing. Not listening and not following the advice of your mentor is rude, disrespectful, and a waste of your time. You should be willing not only to listen, but to create value." That's good counsel, Judy. That's good counsel.
It is good counsel. And when you are a mentor and you are pouring your heart out, and the student is doing nothing about it, it becomes really frustrating, um, to know that you have so much information you can impart. You know, sometimes you feel that way in synergy. You know, I'm sure Dan does so much work. He is such an awesome mentor. And if more of us that are on these calls learned from what he is saying and is taking action, being a good mentee, we would all be stronger, and our teams would be stronger.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a week goes by that I'm not sending out Dan Hammer's work to other people in order to improve my business. And I appreciate that very much. His contribution to not just to Synergy Worldwide, but to our team in particular is profound. And you know, I mean, I beat that drum constantly. And Dan, I hope you don't think I've lost my mind, but I so appreciate the work that you've done to help us all with our Synergy businesses. Just, you know, we're kind of up against it time-wise, Judy, but tell us really quickly what you think about giving back. What does that mean to you?
So yeah, so it's so important to give back, because once we've learned this, knowledge, how are the people that are going to follow, that are following in our footsteps, how are they going to know what path to take if we don't help them? And if that knowledge is not passed on, they are going to learn a different way. And it may not be the way that we want them. If you look at the political world right now, many of the politicians are not um, following the path that was paved for them. They are doing their own path, which is not always wrong, but if we can give back as we learn and teach others that knowledge, so that they don't have to go through some of the hardships that are sitting in front of us, it makes such a difference. For me specifically, it's really leaving a family legacy for making sure that my grandchildren now really live a life of integrity and responsibility and action and engagement in life. That is what part of the legacy that I want to leave, that I have been given, and I want to now give back to the family and to my team as well. We talk a lot about other things than just synergy business when we're having our weekly discussions. It's all about helping other people and having that passion and that desire to make the world a better place.
Yeah, spot on. I have a picture on the wall behind me here in my office that my kids gave me several years ago. It's just a framed picture, and it's got all 5 of my adult children, little pictures of each of them in this picture. In the center, it says, "We love Dad because," and each of my 5 kids have written something, because he ties Mom's shoes, or he tells the best jokes, and because he's considerate of everyone. Each of my kids chose something why they love me, why they love their dad, and every one of those sweet little one-line accolades are predicated on things that I've learned from the mentors, the good men and women in my life. Didn't learn those things at home, to be honest, but from the men and women who I was wise enough to look to learn how to be a better father. It's profound, and so thankful, not only for the good mentors in my life, but for being smart enough to be a good mentee as well. I recognize that I have been. I listen. I'm humble enough to make a paradigm shift in the way that I see things. If I'm looking at something a certain way, there's a new way to look at it that makes more sense, or is better, or is going to bear better fruit. I want to make that change, no matter what it is, and I'm grateful for that. Judy, that's all I had for this morning. Anything else, or are we ready to ask a question or two, or to receive a question?
Yeah, we are ready to ask a question. I just would like to remind everyone that as a recruiter in network marketing, it's part of our job is to be a good mentor. And to build strong teams, we need to be a good mentor. We need to teach our downline, our sidelines, and sometimes even our uplines on how to be a good business person, how to follow up and follow through, and just help our customers and our other team members how to do a good job. And that's really what network marketing is about.
If we're going to sponsor someone, we have a responsibility to do that very thing, to teach, to train, to help, to pay attention. And I love that idea of follow through more than follow up. It's not, follow up almost sounds like it's something separately that you do when you're done with whatever you're doing. Following through feels like it's just a smooth transition. You're not done yet. You follow through. And I think it was Jean LaValle who taught me that.
Absolutely.
But in any event, you guys, we'd love to hear from you. If anyone has a thought or a question you'd like to share just now, we can entertain a question or two.
So Bob and Judy, I'll share a thought. If you can go back to your slide at the beginning where you had mentor. That right there. Thank you. So you've got help, you've got support, you've got advice, you've got assistance, but what you don't have is you don't do the work for the person that you're mentoring.
Oh, right.
And you touched on it, Bob. You know, that's usually the frustrating aspect is you provide help to people, you give them the support, you give them the advice, you give them assistance, but so often what's wanted is for you to they wanting you to do the work, and that's just not a win-win situation. So you'll quickly find out as you work with people who really are the ones that are the mentees that are going to accept your help, your support, your advice, your assistance, and then actually go and implement. Because without, I'm sure both of you, I'm sure people on this call have sat on church boards and other situations where people sit around and talk, and then they leave and nothing is implemented. And it's only in the implementation process that anything actually works.
Yeah,
So anyways, that's
knowledge
my soapbox, and I'll get off of it now.
No, you're spot on, Dan. You are knowledge without application. I don't know. It almost condemns you. I think you have to take advice and then you have to take action. So that's good counsel. Thank you. Anyone else?
Very good call. Morning, all.
Good morning.
Very good call.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, Judy, my dear.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for being on the webinar with us this morning. We appreciate your participation, and we hope that at least one thing that you have heard today will trigger something for you to help you be successful in your business and in your personal life.
Thanks, Judy. Thanks, everybody. God bless you
Bob.
all. We'll see you all again before you know it, right?
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.